and welcome to More Time in the Kitchen. Well, I think it's about time that we had another Scottish sweet with a little sprinkling of salt. So today I'm going to be making Ecclefechan Tarts. Ecclefechan Tarts. What are you doing? It's not a swear, it's just keep it in. So Ecclefechan Tarts are named after the place that they come from, Ecclefechan, and these tarts are sweet and slightly nutty. But enough about my friends, let's get cooking. To make the sweet pastry you will need 200 grams of plain flour, 2 tablespoons of icing sugar, 100 grams of cold hard butter, 1 egg, a teaspoon of lemon juice, and 2 to 3 teaspoons of ice cold water. You'll also need a 10cm or 4-inch ring cutter and a 12-hole muffin tray. And then for the filling you'll need 150 grams of muscovado sugar, 2 eggs, 100 grams of melted butter, a tablespoon of red wine vinegar, a teaspoon of lemon juice, 175 grams of dried mixed fruit and peel, and finally a teaspoon of cinnamon, 10 glassy cherries which have been chopped, and 50 grams of pecan nuts also chopped. You can use mixed chopped nuts or whatever nuts you prefer. Right, so let's get to work on the pastry. So we can pop in our flour. Oh, no, I'll come out of the bowl there, come on. And our sugar. And our butter, which I've cut into little squares. It'll just help it when we're mixing it in. This has always been my favourite part of making pastry, even if you end up feeling a bit of a midden with the butter and the flour all between your fingers. So a midden is someone who's like a bit dirty and unkempt. So say when you're a kid and you're out playing in the mud or whatever, not that they probably do that anymore, they're probably all on their iPhones, aren't they? But yeah, if you were out playing in the muck and you come in and your mum might say to you, "Look at you, you wee midden, you're covered in muck." So that's a midden. There we go, so that's looking like fine breadcrumbs now. Now we're going to add in our wet ingredients, so we can add our egg and our lemon juice and our ice cold water, so I'll get that straight from the tap. Okay, so that's 1 and 2, and we'll see how that is before we go adding any more. Now it's up to you here whether you want to get your hand stuck in or use a spoon. I'm going to use a spoon. And we just want to give it a mix in together till it all comes together as a dough. So another word for somebody dirty is clatty, and clatty tends to be used in the context of somebody being a bit of a dirty bugger. So you might call somebody a clatty bastard. You might say, "Ah, away with you, you clatty bastard." Alright, it's just starting to come together nicely. Doesn't look like we're going to need any more water in there. So I will get my hand stuck in at this point. Just get the remaining off the spoon. There. And just use my hands to work together the rest of the dough. You should really try not to use your hands too much, as you want the pastry to stay nice and cold. That's a key to good pastry, keeping it nice and cold. Okay, that's all coming together. It actually feels a little bit wet, so I'm just going to add a little bit more flour to that, I think. There we go, that's all come together nicely now. into a ball. So what you want to do is wrap that in cling film and stick it in the fridge for at least half an hour before we roll it out. Once the pastry is cool, we can spread some flour onto the work surface and the rolling pin, and we can start rolling out the pastry. Giving it a quarter turn each time. Until it's a couple of millimeters thick. We can then cut out 12 circles from the pastry and we'll move them into our muffin tray. We can then ease the pastry into one of the holes and just gently push it up and out. You can use an extra bit of pastry so that you're sure you're not going to be too hard on the pastry, you're not going to tear it. Just press it so that it comes up to the edge. Once you've done that, you can pop your pastry to one side. If you're worried about it getting a little bit too warm, you can pop it in the fridge. And now we can get on to the filling. Now we can preheat our oven to 200 degrees. We're now going to beat together our eggs and our sugar, but before we do that, I'll tell you another Scottish insult. So another word meaning sort of dirty or like unkempt is scaff, or to say somebody's scaffy. And apparently this literally means bin man. I only heard this recently, but if you were a kid growing up in Inverness and you looked a bit rough, you know, maybe someone who was a bit poorer, didn't have great clothes, or maybe had some hand-me-downs, they'd be called a scaff, or you'd say they look scaffy. Anyway, on with the cooking. So we can throw in our sugar, crack in our eggs. There's one. And there's two. And we'll just quickly beat those together until they're combined. Okay, that's it done. Then we can add in the rest of the wet ingredients. So we can add in the melted butter and our teaspoon of lemon juice and our red wine vinegar. Give those a mix in. Next we'll add in our dry ingredients, so mixed fruits and the cherries and the cinnamon. But don't add in the nuts yet. And again, just give them a mix in. Another kind of similar insult is a jakey. Now, a jakey is someone who goes about in a tracksuit, generally involved in petty crime and is addicted to one substance or another. Are pretty much what an English person would call a chav, or you know, like they're ne'er-do-wells, that sort of idea. Alright, that's it all mixed together. You've got this nice sort of fudgy sauce. Okay, and all we've got to do is add that into the pastry shells. Okay, so I'm going to transfer the mixture into the cases, just using 2 dessert spoons. Should get about 2 spoonfuls of mixture into each one. Just keep going along and see how you get on. So, I've got one more Scottish insult for you. And that one is scunner. Now, this one's a little bit different. in that it means something that disgusts you, like someone or something that disgusts you. So you could say that a person's a scunner. You could say, "Get out my face, you scunner." Or you could say that you were scunnered by something, like something disgusted you. Lastly, we're going to sprinkle some nuts over the top of each tart. And that's then ready to go in the oven for about 15 to 20 minutes. You'll be able to tell that they're done when the pastry is nice and golden brown. You'll want to give them about 5 minutes to cool in the tray before moving them onto a cooling rack. And you can give them a little sprinkle of icing sugar on top. So here we go, here is the end result. So we've got a nice golden pastry and not a soggy bottom in sight. But what's important is how it tastes. So let's give it a munch. Oh, they're so nice. So the pastry is nice and crispy. The inside is kind of gooey and fudgy, and you get a sort of fruity flavour, and there's a little bit of the hint of the cinnamon as well. Oh, they're really good. So these would be a really good alternative to, say, like a mince pie at Christmas if you don't like them, or you know, for any excuse really. These are really delicious. I definitely recommend you try them. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, then please give it a like and comment and subscribe for more content like this in the future. But for now, cheery bye! Two glass cherries which have been chopped up, and 50 grams of peanuts, pecan nuts.